Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. We're heading to my home state of Wisconsin. Yes, I've spent a lot of time in Wisconsin, still hunt extensively in Wisconsin, but this show's about Sam Billhorn and Badger Valley Whitetails. And Sam and his brothers and his crew bought 40 acres a while ago, and now they own their own land. And they bought it from family members, so it's land they had hunted. But he's finding a whole new journey about whitetail hunting. And that's why I wanted to have Sam on the show, and so he could share with you the process he went through and then some other things that we're going to talk about. So, Sam, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be with you, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's exciting, and I'm just looking forward to going hunting. I start next week in Utah with Michael T. Merrill, and I'm excited. I'm packed already, and I don't leave till Tuesday.
Yeah. The time is upon us. That anticipation is half the fun, right?
Oh, it's all the fun because you go through the gear and say, oh, I need this, I need that. So another reason to buy another piece of gear.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Oh, it's fun. But hey, let's talk about the journey of creating Badger Valley Whitetails.
Great. Well, thanks a lot again. It's just been a new joy we've discovered in this process. As you mentioned, we've been very fortunate having had family in Sauk County and a lot of acres that we could hunt there. And just, my entire life, I've spent 30 years in the deer woods there and just enjoyed a lot of time with family, learning about hunting, learning about whitetails. And as you said, we're on a whole new journey now. We were given the opportunity to buy 40 acres off that farm. And we did that here a year ago now. And we are steadily working through a whole new process of habitat improvement, learning so many different things about what that is and setting up that property. It's my background in planning and construction and engineering and all these things just fits right into, kind of strategizing and all the things that we've thought for years, but now that we can actually work that land, we can do so much more with that, and we're having a lot of fun in that process.
So I know you had family, you had been on the land before, but why did you just buy this piece of this 40? What was the reason for that?
Well, partly it was the piece that was made available, but, as we look at land and even just, I've been looking for some time anyway with the idea of potentially of buying land. This 40 it's set up well. It has so many positive things going for it as far as hunting is concerned, and that was our primary focus with it. It's mixed use. It's had some existing ag fields, has a lot of different terrain features, had about 10 open acres and 30 wooded, different topography. And just as it sets up, it checks all the boxes for habitat that we would have wanted in any parcel. And that alone was great. But the fact that it was connected in land that we had hunted and, taken some fine deer off of from the years, and just a great connection. It really was a decision that came pretty easy to us to move forward on it.
Now, are you going to still be able to hunt the family farm?
Yeah, we have access to that. I think we certainly will be doing that. But, with so many of the features we've been doing on this and trying to focus on making this 40, optimal, I don't know that we'll necessarily need to. We'll certainly take those opportunities, but, we're focused on trying to utilize the features of this, maybe save the higher quality hunts opportunities, the right opportunities for the places we've developed within the habitat we have, but also capitalize on those in other places on the farm when the situations exist as well.
What type of deer herd do you have on your 40 or the whole farm?
Yeah, in general, the whole farm it's strong. We've had good deer numbers. We're close to a river there, and with some of the recent flooding, those numbers have kind of drifted up somewhat, but strong deer numbers in the area, but, still decent hunting pressure in the area too. So we need to kind of balance that with developing good habitat features that are going to keep those deer safe on the land we have and hunt a lot more strategically than we may have been able to in the past with others and with not having had the habitat improvements. So there's a lot of things we've done that'll hopefully stack the deck in our favor and make for even better opportunities, more strategic than they may have been in the past.
One thing we didn't talk about in the warm-up, but I'm going to throw out now, what's the impact on CWD in your area?
Sure. CWD is present. We've had positive tests in the area. So it's one of those things that we're aware of. And I think as a whole, the state is dealing with, certainly not fully up to speed with all the details of that and everything. But it's something we're aware of, and it's a unfortunate thing. But I guess I put a lot of trust in others that they're, as a state, we're doing what's right for the deer herd. And hopefully that's something that runs its course and will not deteriorate our hunting any further over time than it may have.
Now, have you personally seen any sick deer?
I can't say that I've seen a deer that you could look at and say that deer's sick. We have had one positive test that I'm aware of off the farm and heard of neighbors, but, so we know it's there. But I've never seen deer, and even in trail cam pics, I've never seen a deer that I looked at and just said something's wrong with that deer.
Yeah, because in the later stages, they're sick. It doesn't take a scientist, biologist to know that's a sick deer.
Yeah. No, I've not had that experience, but I'm not going to deny that it exists. I mean, we know it's in the area.
Want to become a smarter deer hunter? Know when to hunt, where to hunt, how to hunt? Well, Deer Hunting Institute Part 1 was created to do exactly that, because many people have told me they struggle with spending all days in the wood and never seeing a deer, only shooting does and young deer, leaving the woods empty-handed way too many times. Found Mr. Wonderful, but just couldn't get on him, having difficult finding a place to hunt, recognizing possible mistakes you're making every year, having tried and failed to find qualified mentors who deliver results. If you had these frustrations or struggles, go to deerhuntinginstitute.com, and there you'll find a 13-module course to help you solve these problems. Again, go to deerhuntinginstitute.com and find some answers. Now, do you take precautions with the meat? Or tell me, you put a buck down or a doe down, what do you do because CWD is in the area?
Sure. Well, what we've done is we still butcher it and take care of all the meat. That's something that needs to be done right away. And then you can get it tested. And, if the test is positive, we throw it out. So, that's just how we've decided to proceed with it. And, it's kind of a personal choice. It's always a tough thing to waste. No one wants to see that, and that's not our goal as hunters. But just because I think there's so much that's unknown about it, that's how we do it. For right or wrong, everyone has a different opinion on how to handle that.
All right, thanks for that. Let's get back to setting up your 40. You've been on the land before. Now, what changes did you decide to do, and did you build the hunt plan or habitat plan right after you bought the land?
We did. Yeah, so I've been studying for quite some time, and, I got to give a lot of credit to some of these habitat guides out there that put out a lot of great information. Jeff Sturgis, we did invite him to the farm and had an opportunity to share a day with him and had a lot of great ideas from his content leading in, but fine-tuned that with him and, we wanted to make a plan. Having partners on this with two brothers, we had a lot of good ideas, but we wanted to define a plan. And that's one of the things I would encourage anybody with a property is, you don't build a house without a plan. You shouldn't build a property without one. And if you jump in and just start doing things, making these improvements, they may be great individual improvements, but if they don't relate to each other, they're not going to be productive as a whole. So we designed the entire 40 bedding areas, timber stand improvement, food plots, corridors, water holes, mock scrapes, camera locations, stand locations. The entire thing we put on paper and said that's how we're going to do it. And obviously there'll be tweaks over time, but we've tackled that plan now, and I'd say this year we've spent roughing it in. This has been kind of our framing year, and we have all those corridors built, a lot of those bedding areas done, food plots are in. We've moved stands, taken down stands, made new stands, put blinds in, and it's been a ton of good work, but it's going to be fun to see what happens now. So, yeah, I kind of roundabout way to answer your question of what we've done throughout the year, but yeah, I really can't say enough about studying and understanding habitat improvements, knowing how they work together and making a plan for that. And there's a whole wealth of information out there on that. It's been a lot of fun doing that.
My 2 cents on this is buy a piece of property, it's going to cost you X money. To have somebody,
Right.
whoever you choose to come in and put a new set of eyes on it, not because anybody out there listening doesn't know about where whitetails live, how to hunt whitetails, how to feed whitetails, and all those things. But what I've learned talking to enough people in the industry is that with a fresh set of eyes that said, well, have you thought about enter and exit this stand this way?
Oh, yeah.
This wind.
Hunter access, you bet.
Yeah, hunter access. And just, you mentioned you changed some stands. You got mock scrape. And I don't think we can't use minerals in Sauk County, can we?
No.
No minerals of feed, so that's out, but you can put up mock scrapes. So you start looking at all this and you put it on a plan, then you set up your trail cameras to monitor that activity. And guess what happens? Over the years, you can develop a trend and you develop a journal so you know what the deer are doing and how you're managing to the best possible outcomes for your deer herd. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And one point I just got to drive home again is you said you pay a bunch of money for a property. I mean, pay someone who's spent decades looking at this stuff and knows it in and out. I mean, yeah, you might have your ideas, but if you have an open mind and you want to get some more input, getting another set of eyes on it and developing a plan it saves you money. You get so much out of that because you don't make mistakes. You don't waste time. You don't waste money. You're developing improvements that relate to each other and are going to accomplish your goal. You're not experimenting for years and decades. So,
and there's a lot of truth to that. And folks, there's a lot of great people out there right in Wisconsin. And I know guys that are traveling, throughout the country, and that, people have said, hey, you really know what you're doing. They'll pay them to get on their land, pay them for a day or two, and pay them a couple bucks. But in the end, they get a habitat plan, they get a stand plan, they get the mock scrape plan, they get entrance and exit strategies or sites. I mean, with Onyx maps and all the other, technological, digital information we have, I mean, you can do a lot of work right from your laptop. And I know these guys that do the hunt plans or the habitat plan. That's what they do. Before they even step on your land, they said, okay, what are we looking at? And you go from there.
Yeah, you can do a lot from that, but boots on the ground help too. I mean, there's some things don't always appear as they are in the field. And I think a lot of especially when it comes to fine tweaking those things, I mean, the details that you can find in being in person and being on the ground is very helpful.
What's your favorite time of year to hunt whitetails?
Anytime. I find a lot of joy in any of those in different times for different reasons. I grew up as just a gun hunter and as a child. I mean, so obviously there's a lot of good memories in that time, the camaraderie. I mean, there's a culture, especially in Wisconsin, of that gun opener and that gun season. And there's some good times, good, family memories of that. But as I grow in my experiences in bow hunting, I love that, late October, early November time as the woods is changing and the activity is high. I mean, it's just the excitement of that is really hard to beat. I think that that's cool. But at the same, sitting with the snow with a muzzle loader late is also great in so many ways. So, yeah.
Now, you think over the deer that you've taken off the farm, what's the best story you'd like to share about that one buck? Or it might be a doe.
Sure. Well, I think it back, there's a lot of good memories. I think some of the best have just come by happenstance. And part of that goes back, too, to say we've had great success, but a lot of it has come from luck and chance. And, I think that's a lot of what gun hunting has been for us. But I think probably my best memory comes from just having my first bow kill. I didn't pick up a bow till I was in my 20s, and really that was something I taught myself. That was just, it was completely foreign to me, pulling back a bow for the first time. But I really was interested in expanding my season and growing in my interest and hobby for being in the deer woods. And first year I picked up that bow and learned how to shoot well. I shot throughout the winter. I mean, there was a point there I was shooting a couple times a day and just shot all the time, just fell in love with shooting the bow. And that fall, I think I spent probably 18 or 19 different days in the stand. I was out there quite a bit, probably over hunting some places and didn't realize that, but some of the inexperience at the time. But, seeing deer that close for the first time, I mean, again, put yourself in a position of a gun hunter. And, a lot of these times it's circumstance, the deer runs by or they're at great distance or this or that. But being in the deer woods and just seeing the detail of a deer at 10 yards, and experiencing that in different times of the year, it felt so new and interesting to me to experience that. And, I saw a deer early in the season. I mean, it was the second time I was on a stand and had, a deer, and it doesn't benefit you in the podcast, but it's the one over my shoulder over here that you see, Bruce. But had this deer at 40 yards and thought, oh, that's a really good deer. But, I was a little gun shy at the distance and was unsure. And I shouldn't have been. I could have taken a shot, but had the opportunity in the rut to have that guy come cruising by my stand at 10 yards and had a little scent on the path there. And, I thought that might help me at the time. And, again, not really knowing anything about habitat improvements and all this and that, but he just parked himself at 10 yards and I let him have it, and it was just surreal. I mean, the emotion that we all experience in that moment of time, and just, and like I said, that had been many, many days in the stand, and to have that come together the way it did was awesome. I mean, he didn't go but 15 yards and saw him fall, and it was just perfect, and a neat experience. Obviously that first season getting into bow hunting and having that happen was just more than I could ever dream, and I've been at it ever since. So
it is addicting, and congrats. You're able to do that. A lot of people bow hunt and it takes them a long time to give a deer a dirt nap.
Yeah, no, and
it's not easy what we do. I mean,
no, and I'm not trying to make it sound like somebody can go out there their first year. It isn't that simple, but there's a lot of things you can do to plan, and if you're able to work on the land, that you can stack the cards in your favor. And, the more we do this, the more we learn, right?
Do you want to become a smarter whitetail hunter, knowing when to hunt, where to hunt, how to hunt? Over the past 4 years, people have asked me, hey, I'm struggling with spending all day in the woods and never seeing a deer, only getting opportunities at doe or young bucks, leaving the woods empty-handed too many seasons. Located the deer of a lifetime, but just flat out missed. Having difficulties finding a place to hunt, recognizing mistakes that you're making over and over again, and you want to eliminate them. Having tried and failed to find qualified mentors. Well, you've come to the right place. Why? Because Deer Hunting Institute Part 1 was created by me, Bruce Hutchin. It's a 13-module course that'll talk about being lost in the deer hunting forest, never hunted. What is a hunter? What is an adult onset hunter? What rules apply? Finding a mentor, choosing a weapon, finding a place to hunt, scouting a hunt location, stand sites, stand access and exit, reading sign, and when to hunt. All these are available for you at deerhuntinginstitute.com. Go now to deerhuntinginstitute.com and sign up for the best deer hunting course in America. The one thing you said in the warm-up, and I want to kind of head that way, is that you really have a passion for the people, your friends, your family, and the journey. And so let's spend some time talking about that aspect of hunting, because we both know it isn't just putting a deer down. It's not harvesting a doe it's all the other things that make deer hunting, in my opinion, in your opinion.
Yeah, so I touched on that a little bit with, growing up, the history of being with cousins and with friends and all that, and just the camaraderie and culture that was gun hunting. And, those are some of the most wonderful memories I have as a kid in those times. But, looking forward, and I have 3 small kids now, and, look toward the future, and how I can share that experience and interest of not just hunting or taking a deer, but just to be outside, to be with my kids, with my nieces and nephews, and see all these kids running around and doing this. I mean, some of these awesome projects we've been doing, we've taken a pile of kids along and they just bopped through the woods and had fun and discovered new things. And, it's just to see that excitement that they have, it makes it all worthwhile. And at the same time, too, being able to provide a property now that, with the improvements we've made, hopefully you should raise the bar for it, give more opportunity for quality and chance of success for people. And, to not just have that ourselves, but and not even for our kids, but to share that with others, whether it be family or friends or, even people we don't know that we like to give that opportunity to. I'm looking forward to those times. I know there's a lot of joys in that coming. I think back to times where to be with people when they took a deer or when they were with me when I did. And, those are some amazingly powerful memories, and just those are great joys in all those things. But there's also joy in the work, that all these projects and everything. It's fun to see that stuff grow and all that. So yeah, I guess, it's a roundabout answer, but being involved in the relationships are what matter, and long term, that's all we have.
When somebody who doesn't hunt comes up to you and says, I understand you're a deer hunter, what do you say to them?
Well, it depends on, I guess, on what their angle is. You always got a feel for that. But, I just say, I love being outside. I love being in the woods. Deer hunting is something that's got me there, and it's kind of the driving force that keeps me coming back and having those opportunities like I described earlier. But it's all these things combined, the projects, the planning, the anticipation. We mentioned that before. Being outside, enjoying God's creation. All those things you look at and just, it's some of the best things that I can do, and I love doing it. Taking a deer is part of that. That's kind of the thing, your goal you're shooting for. It's the reason you keep going, but there's joy in the journey, not just destination.
The reason I ask that is because a lot of people ask me, said, well, what should I talk about when somebody asks me why I hunt and how do I hunt? And I used to say, because I like to kill stuff. I don't say that anymore. It just, no. I've gotten away from that.
Well, I think the thing we need to continue and, to promote too, because you're always one generation away from extinction on anything, right? So, not that we fear what could happen with hunting or with, culture or these things, but it's also, that helping people realize that's not all why we do it. We just want to be out there with them, and that's the thing we're doing. But a lot of there's more to it than, like you say, than killing an animal.
That's for sure, because we're trying to reactivate and recruit and retain hunters, and it's a big issue in the hunting community right now, because we're losing absurd number of people who aren't buying tags and licensing, and it's all tied together in the commerce and the business of hunting. And it's a huge industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. Last time I was at ATA, I think they said $37 billion industry. So you think of those numbers, and you think how we just 100 with a bunch of guys going into a small town in Wisconsin during a 9-day rifle season, what that does for the small town, and they shoot some deer, but all the other things they do in the community helps the community. And sometimes I think people that are looking crosswise at us because we're hunters, they don't connect those dots.
Right. No, I agree with everything you said. And vast majority, that you get in any group, you're going to have some rotten eggs, but these are great people trying to do good things in their community. I mean, when they're not doing this, look at the things that they're involved with. They're, a lot of them, active members in their communities and working towards improving things in other ways too,
Yeah, one thing we wanted to talk about, and we just touched about it a little bit on relationships, and I'd like to end the show on that, the relationship that you developed. But one thing you said in your bio, you hunted out west 9 or so times, and how has being a whitetail hunter helped you become a better big game hunter in the Rockies?
Sure. Well, I think a lot of it is, habitat is habitat, whether it's deer or elk or any other species. I hunt antelope too, but I think looking at the lay of the land, studying maps. I love maps. Looking at total maps and things like that, and so much of it starts on paper and planning, and you have eyes for those things. The things that the whitetail is crafty. Looking at the details we look at in the whitetail woods. I think if you are looking at those things in a western state and the different topography features and things like that, you'll start to see the same sort of things that you're looking for as far as different changes in habitat and things that they need. I think also too, when you get out there, being perceptive to conditions, whether it's weather, temperature, or precipitation, cold fronts, things like that. Where would animals move to? Why would they move? All those things relate. I know we found success in putting ourselves in positions that hasn't, you would think may not be optimal or it's hard work. I mean, one of the biggest things is just finding the more distant habitats that others aren't willing to go to. We've hunted public lands, and a lot of times we'll just exclude things right off the road to begin with and look beyond that. I think, willing to work and get back in there is a huge part of that as well.
What's your favorite animal out west, Sam?
Well, I think I've had the most fun chasing elk. A lot of the hunts I went on were on easy to get tags, maybe lower quality hunts, public land, and we were just out there chasing elk. We did it, and just to see that such large landscape is what's different. Like the space thing, everything is bigger, and I think that having the ability to go out there and find where these elk are and chase them has just been, like you say, you make the comparison of a eastern whitetail hunter to going out west. I think there's a lot of similarities in how elk live and how they function to whitetails. And when you're thinking and looking in that way, you're going to find them. You're going to put yourself in the right spot, and then some of it is circumstance, but the rest of it is try to get yourself in that position and maybe intersect with them and have good opportunities. So I had a lot of fun chasing elk. I think we've had good success with antelope. Antelope's a social hunt, more fun hunt to go out and glass and see them and, kind of stalk and try that opportunity. But the work of an elk hunt. The other thing too with elk that's fun is, I get obsessed on just work and just with elk hunt, you're hunting so hard and you don't sleep much, and you're up late, you're up early, and working to chase those things. You just get hungry after a while, and it's just fun to kind of have that aggression of trying to get after them. So that's been fun. Good memories doing that.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show tonight. Before we go, can I take a moment and say thank you? Listen, as we started the Whitetail Rendezvous podcast journey, we had no idea what to expect. But after 4 years, we received a ton of feedback from our over 400,000 listeners and climbing to 500,000. Speaking of which, we are now closing in on over 600 featured guests. Thank you. And a quick shout out to all those who have left an iTunes review and your feedback. I get those and really appreciate it. And it's awesome to see what you have to say, and we do read every single one of them. And I just want you to know that I am incredibly grateful for your kind words regarding the show. And all of the ratings and reviews help us attract more listeners. And if you're one of those new listeners, welcome. Great to have you. By the way, if you haven't taken the time to rate and review our show, And like the hunting on private land strategy on how to get permission to hunt a private property, go to whitetailrendezvous.com as a special gift for just rating and reviewing our show. When you get there, look for the start button to get the details. Listen, I'll share you the top technique from some of the top hunters in the country on how do they get permission to hunt on private land. I'll share with you the exact techniques they use to get permission, as my way of saying thanks for rating and reviewing the show on iTunes. So join us next time. And remember, we're all on this journey together, learning, sharing, and becoming 365 hunters. Elk hunting, I'm talking to a guy just the other day, Bo Matonic, and he has East Meets West Hunt podcast.
Yeah.
It's a great podcast, and we were talking about the mental aspects of elk hunting, because physical,
right,
you're never going to be in good enough shape without living out west and actually ranching or guiding and outfitting to beat the mountain. The mountain slowly, every single step will beat you down. And
it's a mental challenge as well.
It really is. And that's the biggest thing I want to share with people. Just, you got to have fun. You're going to work very hard. You're not going to sleep much. But when you hear that bull elk bugling inside of 30 yards, it all doesn't matter. Whether or not you get a shot, to me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Being up close and personal and doing that, I get a tremendous amount of joy of doing that. Just being there. And no, I've not closed the deal on more elk than I've killed. And I get that.
Right.
But there's just something about being out there, and when you get away from the people and you get in the basins or wherever they are, it's magical.
No, to be in that elk country, as you say, and be miles from nowhere and to be within bow range of a bugling elk, it makes the hair on your neck stand up. It's awesome.
That's good. So let's close up the show with the relationships that you developed and the closeness that you developed to people, not only in your family, but who are hunters.
Sure. Yeah. Recently, and as I continue to dive into habitat improvement and learn so much, not just by watching, but by doing, one of the places I've got into, and that's where we connected, Bruce, was on Instagram with Badger Valley Whitetails. And the community people that are just there doing all these things of habitat improvement, like-minded people that are having fun doing these projects, having successes, having failures in what they're doing, and being connected with them. That's a whole nother thing that been new for me. I've not been a social media guy, but somehow I wandered in there and been having a lot of fun doing it. I look forward to continuing that. And, I love making a plan. I love seeing different ideas come together. And, I think as this goes on, I could see myself, desiring to get into that, whether it be part-time or just by hobby, to do habitat improvements or design and things like that to help other people out. I look forward to those kind of relationships that I could have in that process, and I know what I'm learning and what I'm doing and just my knack for putting a plan together. I think I'm going to end up there, and that'll be a lot of fun. Well,
good for you. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, I guess the only thing I'd say is bring it back is, think about the other reasons you're doing it. Bring somebody along with you, whether it's a project or a hunt or whatever. Do it with others. It's going to make it that much better. My best hunts have come for ones I've been with others, and I just can't say that enough. And I think that'll keep the ball rolling with people being interested in being outdoors, and I think everyone who listens to a podcast like this is going to know that and think that. But just encourage you to find somebody, bring them along. And thanks a lot for having me, Bruce.
Well, Sam, it's just been a pleasure. And I don't know if we'll connect. I don't know. How far is Laval from where you guys are at?
Well, just across the county, not that far. Let's come visit the farm someday.
Well, I'd love to have you, or we can meet halfway in Spring Green or something like that. Because you got to be down near Spring Green, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Spring Green's real close. You bet.
Yeah. So I can't think of the road that leaves Val and heads that way. But anyway, it's just been a joy, and thanks for reaching out. And I just wish you all the best. Send me some pictures this come fall. And after the season, let's get together and do a 2019 recap.
All right, you got it. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.